let me just listen to Io's side of the story. Because I want to know what the fuck Io has to say about this. Or if he finally, for the first time in his career, will admit that he was wrong and that he fucked someone over. And that's okay. Just say you're wrong and move on. Right?
Cool. So obviously what's going on is what's going on. Let me state and start with, I've already apologized to Poke in the DMs. I wasn't aware that he was that mad about it. The reason I say this is because when I got pulled onto the stream, I was not going onto the stream knowing I was going to get essentially interrogated, or rather, Poke was serious and I was not. That was not made aware to me. I thought it was just the normal calls we have with Poke when he pulls us on stream, which is just
Yeah,
friends doing
usually
whatever,
Poke is
which is
being
why I was
goofy and just having
EO's
fun.
making jokes. Poke is super serious. I just wasn't aware. I've already apologized for that. Let me then go on to state that I am a way more direct person than people are giving me credit for. I DM, I call, I text, whatever. So I'm not aware of this being as serious as an issue as it is, at least within our conversation before the stream and then after the stream, because I'm not being told he is angry or upset or whatever about it. I have to hear it from other people, or in this case, see it in video format. I don't respond in videos. This is new entirely. I just don't do this. So that's new to me. But I'm not saying this is like a, oh, you're making excuses, yada, yada.
And listen, love your content, Io. You're a super charismatic guy. But dude, if something, I hate to say this because I don't like this as well, okay? I don't like this as well, but you gotta think about this. When something is brought into public and becomes a public debate and a public discussion, unfortunately, whether you like it or not, you gotta give the conclusion and the answers in the public light too. It is that simple. Because if you don't, the community, your viewers and their viewers too, won't understand that everything it's okay now and y'all are Gucci and that y'all are okay and that y'all are friends and everything's now behind y'all and it's the past. You gotta understand this. Please, Iyo, I know I'm a super small creator, no one should care for my opinion and yada yada yada, but please, dude, first, stop trying to argue with everyone on Twitter. Secondly, please try to look a little more deep within yourself, your life, your family, your friends, and everyone that surrounds you. Please don't let your ego grow that way. And I'm not saying this in a bad way, because ego is good in a lot of ways too. But do not let yourself fall into the trap that you're always right, that people are trying to bully you, or they're being racist towards you, or that they are fucking you over because they don't like you. Okay? Really. And third thing,
MiHoyo sounds so.
and third thing, please, please, the next time this happens, in 24 hours after something happened, admit that you did something wrong. If you really did, be introspective, meditate, think about the subject, and if you were really wrong, and if the person on the other side is also telling that you were wrong, and your friends are telling you that you were wrong, think about it. In 24 hours after this happens, at most 48 hours after this happens, talk about that it was your fault, and apologize publicly. And then after that, you'll never ever suffer for something again. Never. It's that simple. You just need to do those three things. And that's it. That's all you need to do, homie.
No, I'm just letting you guys know
I'm sorry,
way
Cloud. I
more
was in the
direct.
middle of
There's an
something,
issue,
so I
you
muted
quite
the
literally just
DTS.
DM it
I'm
to
sorry,
me,
homie.
or call and tell me like, yo, I feel this way.
Do this after
I
the
don't
video,
like
though.
this, yada yada, this, that, and the third. I do get one guide. I do
Yeah.
get one guide a lot. I read chat. I shouldn't. I do crash out on Twitter. I've been working on that. But whatever. Point being is that
Nice. Love to hear that you're
is
working on it.
where
Nice,
you
dude.
see a lot of
Nice.
the defensive nature from me. That doesn't come from being in person. That doesn't come from, well, I guess I'm doing this, but you and I, right? That doesn't come from being who we are, cool. Regardless of that fact, there was a lot more to the tournament, especially post tournament, that
I
I
know,
was
Danny, don't
thinking
worry.
of, not the traces. And so I understand why he was upset about the traces. I'm not gonna argue whether or not traces are maxed or not. You guys saw the previous, like the intro to this video was literally the 3 cycle with the Claire team that I used in the tournament, and the traces are the same. It might have changed something during the tournament where we all make mistakes. I made misplays during that tournament. It wasn't the draft team that we practiced. And no, that is not me being tunnel visioned on
Thank you
Yali.
for
We
apologizing
practiced a
you.
bunch of
I'm
different
so
Clara teams. It just
happy
wasn't
that you're
that Clara
doing
team.
this.
The original
Thank you.
intention was not for me to have Silver. It was for me to have Topaz or someone to help with follow-up attacks, or Ting Yun for energy, or even Hanya with Planetary Rendezvous. I practiced for over 10 hours with Pokke's team, not specifically with Poke. Regardless of that fact, I get it. I don't want to.
I'm 100% sure that you're going to be good
harp
with each other
on
after this
I
drama
don't
cloud.
want to be
I'm
harped
100% sure
about
that if
this.
Iyo
This
was
wasn't supposed to be
sincere,
turned into
talked
any
to
kind of like
Poke,
drama
they're gonna be
or an
Gucci.
attack on me or my
Really,
character or anything
it's
like
not
that.
something
I
that
didn't sandbag
this is not
Poke.
something that
Wasn't my
kills a
intention. I
friendship,
didn't throw the tournament. I know
especially
that whole
if
thing
you
is being pushed
apologize,
around now that like I
right?
threw the tournament on purpose. I'm competitive. Like literally the whole as a fighting game player, like the same.
Exactly.
We
If you're
don't
a fighting
throw.
player, you
I'm
have
pretty
to be
sure you guys in
competitive.
any competitive thing that you play, you don't throw. I'm not a thrower. When I discussed this with Poke in private, we got to the same conclusion that I simply just forgot. It slipped my mind during that time period to max out the traces. There
Thank
are
you,
reasons for
Iyo.
that. Some of you
Thank
guys
you,
don't care. The
homie.
people that do care
Thank
have
you.
already
I'm
asked me
so
about
happy
it. It's
that you're
fine.
just
I'm not here to
being
give
completely
y'all a
honest and
whole
blunt with it.
hour long whatever about this, that, and the third. What this video is going to be about is basically how we could have won, my experience with the draft overall, and where I think this event could go, right? Like I do genuinely enjoy the event. I think this event is really cool. It just sucks that I have to put this statement out here first so that you guys can hear this. Again, I've already spoken to him in DMs about it to whatever extent that could be spoken on. I really don't
Lovely.
want to have another
Lovely.
incident like this again. So we're not going to have
Nice.
another incident. I'm not going to keep talking about this. There's no point
Yes.
moving beyond that. We can
Yes.
talk about the draft. So prior to this tournament, which I do believe some of the people thought we had like 3 or 4 days to do this. This was almost on the spot. By the time I got this message to
That's
join
okay.
or being asked to come to the tournament, it was 2 days and like nighttime the night before, right? So 2 days and a couple hours before I'm going to bed, that I was invited to this tournament, which means the next day I started preparing, the next day being Thursday. On all of Thursday, I pretty much worked with Pokke's team. Pokke and I got together for a little bit, maybe like 2 hours collectively, of course, not overall in total, but collectively, of course, not exactly at the same time or in the same time span, but about 2-ish hours out of the 10 hours I was there with the team. So there was a lot that was being done, tested, worked on, things like that him and I just never discussed. It is what
Lovely.
it is. Like, this is just kind of the things that happen with teams. I'm really used to, from my previous PvP or Creator Cup events, I'm super used to just like working with my partner for days on end, or 5+ hours to figure things out, go over things. So some of the things that I said during that stream, like, why didn't you tell me to do this, or why didn't you mention that? It's not for me to pin blame. It's just
Now listen. I've said that whenever I was watching the previous video, that maybe you were trying to change the blame to Pokke. Now that you said in the beginning of this video that you were actually just trying to be entertaining and creating content because you couldn't feel the vibe that was going in the room, that is totally fine, right? I myself am apologizing right now because I was one of the people that thought you were blaming Pokke, you were changing the blame to Pokke's. Now that you said that you were actually just trying to create content, be funny and entertaining, that's totally valid. Totally valid. Totally valid.
used to it. Now at this point, I get it, right? Like that, it's a difference in how I prep for team games versus how other people prep for team games. But during this entire process, with the multitude of teams that I tested, I did run out of materials to max out these characters. I have a lot of excess material in terms of the fuel. And so during this time period, I think I had maybe like 5 or 4 of the gold balls, the tracks of destinies, and a couple of boss materials. But it says 0 out of 14 for all of my purple stuff because I don't have any of that. I do have some tiers, but if I'm not mistaken, I had maybe like 150 or 200, something like that. It was a very low amount of tiers that I had. So being able to take one character, I would have been able to do that max at that time, which I just didn't think about doing in that moment. I know, I think I said something like it's expensive to do it or something like that. But when I said expensive, it's because, as I'm saying, looking at the amount that I had then versus how much it costs to go from 0 to 14, I believe it's 172 tiers. in order to take it to the next level. I still would have had to do that for Silver, for Ho-Oh, all the other characters that are saying like, yo, you should have maxed all your characters' traces. I didn't have enough. Now, beyond that point with the material, I do have enough materials, the fuel to go and farm it. I didn't have time to farm the materials. I believe I talk about this later on in the video, but TLDR, I had about 3 to 10 minutes to prepare everything. That's not enough time for me to go farm all of these characters' materials, let alone
Sure, but you could have farmed some of it, right? The fact that you didn't farm any, still kind of a misplay though, right? But again, happy that you're taking the blame and happy that you're debating this. Love to see.
enough to even take them up to 1 level. So one of the things that wasn't being mentioned was just how fast we had draft. So it went from draft to, okay, we can talk about this for a little bit. What are we going to ban the light cone from? Okay, we have to pick the light cone. Less than maybe 7 minutes, 10 minutes, something like that. Like I said, all within that time period. And as soon as all that's done, I'm barely in wave 1 of practicing the team and trying to learn how to pilot it. Hey, come in the call, it's your turn, we're getting ready to prep you up, come talk to the host, yada yada, this and that. So in that moment, I didn't have the time afforded to me to be able to do every single thing at once, and I don't think that's what's being pointed out about the traces thing. So by the point the draft starts, we're really hoping that we got something that we practice, that way none of the
He is making some excuses, sure, but he is overall admitting the blame. At least on the beginning of the video, that was the focus, and I feel like if that's the first message that you open up to, it kind of shows that that was the focus of your video, right? The focus of the video was publicly showing that he was sorry and what he could have done better, right? And how he was feeling back at that moment, right? And I feel like that's totally fair. Again, he doesn't have to be perfect, right? I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm asking of you to improve. And if he's trying to improve, if he's trying to get less fights on Twitter, fuck his image less, and try to debate and try to talk things in a video format, being honest, humble, and saying sorry for what he did wrong and showing what he couldn't have done, that's already a huge W and a much better change than I was expecting.
none of the
Now that's
materials
PR starting with an apology to get a viewer watching, they're
or
making excuses.
investments would go to waste.
You could say
Once
that.
we get to the draft though, this is probably the part where it was like the draft was kind of cool. We did have a couple of ideas. I thought that was pretty interesting though. Like one of the things Pokke wanted to try was dot side 1, but I wasn't aware that he had like this crazy swan sampo tech that he was gonna do, or at least show me, because I thought he expected me to know that. I didn't know that. I only found this out after the draft from Sarah. Sarah told me about the tech, and she showed me kind of like what the run was, and she showed me that she showed
Respectfully, because as a human you should have known everything, but as a content creator, as a theory crafter and a guide maker, you should know what the characters do, right? You played this game for a long time, dude. You should have known it. You really should.
that to him the day of the draft. So like that night he got alerted about it, and then that morning I was shown that stuff or whatever, shown the possible draft from Risa. But I think there were some things that we probably could have tried and done during the draft, and I guess we can talk about like the draft itself. Overall, we just got out drafted. I feel like that's really clear, right?
Yes.
The opponents, the other players, people that are like PvP centric, they play a lot of PvP, and even Pokke himself said it on stream, we got out drafted. What could we have done during the draft to prevent?
Yeah, to be fair, he talks about this game, and if he
when I
knows
thought
so
about
much that he
that's
should
where I was
know.
like, okay,
Yeah.
maybe instead of Sparkle, we could have grabbed Ting Yoon. And even him and I were saying the same thing, right? We were typing it out like, dang, maybe we should have went from Ting Yoon.
Remember, the video was at
like,
least
with
30
Sparkle,
minutes.
play
Within
here,
that time, he still
you
couldn't
know,
feel
what
the
did she
vibe.
provide? What didn't she do? What could Ting Yoon have done better? Different things like that. And having Silverwolf
Little
be
reader,
the
maybe. Yeah, that
half the
happens. It
half
totally
on the
happens.
team, I think that made it really
Again,
difficult.
I'm totally fine if you couldn't feel the vibe of the room, right? Read the room. That's totally fine. There's some people that just can't. It is what it is. I gotta go, Pepe, because I got classes in a couple of hours. Have fun streaming, homie. Thank you so much, Cloud. Good classes, homie. Hope everything goes well over there, and hope to see you later or tomorrow. It's cool that you're an optimist, Pepe, and who a person is in a few days ago doesn't define who they are today. I agree. But that initial passive aggressive of him at the start really says a lot. Yes, I agree with you, but I feel like he's trying. Because if you guys, I don't know if you guys saw, and kept up with the ZZZ stuff, right? If you compare his attitude now about the HSR stuff and compare it to the ZZZ stuff, that being said, on the ZZZ stuff, he didn't fuck anyone over, right? No one lost money because of that. No one made money because of that. There was no other person besides him involved, right? It was a completely different scale, completely different situation. But if you see how he handled things back on the ZZZ stuff and how he's handling things now, I can see a huge improvement. On this video, and the fact that the ZZZ stuff didn't even had a video, and the video that they actually it did have a video, but the video was him being condescending with the audience and the chat and trying to argue why he was actually right, right? And now on this video, he's actually admitting some of the guilt, saying that he talked with Pokke, right, and saying that he's trying to do better. That is already a huge change of mentality. You guys can say that maybe he's just trying to act like a victim, right? Maybe he's being passive aggressive, maybe. But to me, I still feel like it is a huge improvement from the first time that he got a controversy, from now the second controversy, right? I feel like it changed a lot, and that's lovely to see. I can't ask the man to be perfect, but I can ask a man to improve, right? And that's what I'm seeing here. I'm being completely honest now. I know that I've trashed him a shitload whenever I was watching the first time of the video, but seeing his posture, the way that he's talking, and his tone makes me really feel like he is learning. He might not be perfect, but he is learning. He's just doing damage control. I mean, it is damage control. No one is saying that it isn't, right? This is damage control, 100%. But it's how you do damage control, though. I also agree with Danny that this might be PR team that pushed him to apologize. Guys, he doesn't have a PR team. He's a small creator in the grand scheme of things. I am 10 times sorry, I am a million times smaller, but he's a small creator in the end of the day. He does not have a PR team. Because if this did not blow up to his magnitude, I firmly believe that this response wouldn't happen in the first place. I disagree with you because he did not apologize for the ZZZ stuff, right? Even then, when pro players and players that play fighting games in a much higher level than him and that put in a lot more effort in creating content around fighting games, even though those people proved him wrong, right, with facts and arguments, he still did not do the same thing that he's doing right now. Right? It is different, Pepe. Here is a consequence. It's against the friends of Tecton. Yeah, I know the consequences. Sure, but eventually he was against Tecton in the first place too. Not in the same way though. I agree. But yeah, PR team equal wife, family, and friends. Yeah, that could be it. Again, if he has someone that is yes manning him and saying that he's always right, he really should think that's this true. I'm not saying that he should end the relationship with the person that's doing this. I'm not saying for him to say bye to a friend, bye to a loved one. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you should maybe take the opinion of that person in these subjects, which is your career, with a little bit less of value, right? Lower a little bit the value that this person is bringing inside your perspective, inside your job, right? That is your job. You should know the best, right? And if someone, especially if that person doesn't understand all the bells, whistles, details, and chain effects that can happen whenever we're talking content creation, then that person should not have an opinion as strong as your other content creator people that you know, right? As yourself and all of that, right? So again, if you have a yes man person in your life, I'm not saying for you to say bye for them forever. I'm just telling you to maybe value their opinion on your job a little bit less, right? That could also help out a lot. I'm not saying that that's the fact, but it kind of does feel like it because of the way he acts and then how he talks afterward, right? You could argue that he's being passive aggressive and he tried to be aggressive, he failed, and now he's being passive and a victim. You could argue that, and that this is his natural way that he acts, moves, and plays. But I'm being completely honest here. By the form that I'm listening to him, seeing him, and by the way that it changed from the first controversy, right, which was ZZZ, and then now, it clearly shows an improvement, and it shows that maybe it was. I'm not saying that the blame is the external person, but that external person had some influence in how he acted, behaved, responded and everything, responded and everything. Sorry, second language, right? So I do feel like that hunch. It's a hunch. It's a guess, right? I'm just talking out of my fucking ass here, but it does feel like someone might have influenced him mistakenly. And I'm not saying that that person did that trying to be evil with him, right? And trying to bring bad things into his life, his career, and everything. That was probably not it. That was probably just a person who doesn't understand all the bells, whistles, details, chain things, butterfly effect, however you say it, effects of how content creation works, right? That person was just trying to be helpful and trying to be better and trying to lift up Io's humor, right? And that's totally fine, right? If the intention comes from a good place, that's cool. But you yourself as an adult have to try and differentiate things, right? And try to judge things in the best way possible to be better for your not only yourself as a person, not only yourself as relationships with friends and family and girlfriends and everything, and also as your career, right? Gotta balance all these
or
three
trying
different
to
versions of
structure
you.
different teams around that. Now, Silver does have some really crazy teams. I think Silver has a couple of good teams, but getting Silver plus those good teams.
Yeah, then exactly, thanks to you, PR team or not, if this didn't blow up, this wouldn't happen.
Formulate everything overall. And
but
so
hey, at the end of the
nothing
day,
really
this is
like
between
went
him and
as
Poke.
static as we wanted it
And
to.
if he
To
says they're
explain
cool,
the
they're cool.
Acheron thing,
Yeah,
we both
I totally
bantered,
agree.
or we both decided on
Keep your loved
banter
ones
after
out
a
of
little bit
business decision. Yes,
discussion back and
I
forth,
agree,
and then
Danny.
me testing out Acheron.
I already had a
simply
lot of
because
problem
we
with
didn't
that
have E2.
on
And
my
by
job.
we, I mean him and I.
And I
have
know how
E1,
fucked up that is.
which is basically E0 plus like guaranteed crit rate. And then he has E6, which was not allowed. If you guys didn't know the rules of the tournament,
yeah,
we were allowed to use, I believe it was up to E3, maybe E4. I don't remember
think
the
it was
specific
E3
number, but
on
we were allowed to use up to
5
a
stars
certain
and
thing
E4 on
for
4 stars.
limited characters, and then a certain thing for the standard characters.
Yep.
But it definitely wasn't E6. So Poke having E6, that means we couldn't use his Acheron.
I know.
And for me not
I've watched it all live,
or
by the
E2,
way.
my bad. That means that my Acheron wouldn't be able to compete with their Acheron. So the reason that we locked out Acheron was because all of our opponents, all of them had E2 Acheron. I think maybe Smack might be the only one that doesn't have E2. And I don't even remember if Smack has E2 or not, right? All of our opponents had an advantage with Acheron, which is like, okay, we have to cut off something. Now there's a number of threats right now in the game. You have follow-up, you have Acheron, you have the Dot, depending on what you're doing with Dot. I think all of us have E1 Swan. Ryu has E2 Firefly. Like there's so many different things that we have to worry about during the draft. So it made it a really tough draft to pretty much lock out what our opponent could get without locking out what we can use and still finding a way to build the team out of that. But it was tough. It was tough. Like I don't know. It was one of those things where like as I was watching back for the draft to figure out kind of like how we could do it, I low-key thought about like, man, I should have grabbed Hanya. But it was one of those things
Bro,
where
the
like
TwitchCon advertisement is killing me.
with Hanya,
Holy
right? Like,
shit.
I had to have both. And the Sparkle, there was a team that I tested.
Smack have a character that it isn't to the max.
Hanya,
What?
and Fushun.
Yeah,
Dude,
insane.
I would have never thought
Really,
to put
it's
those,
coming
like,
from
as a
Smack, that's
unit to
insane.
put all those together. Man, it was fun. Like the Hanya was actually doing work, and then Sparkle was bringing up Clara, and she was also bringing up Hanya. But I got a 2-cycle with that team, and I got a 2-cycle with the Clara team using Sparkle and Ting Yun. Which was like a very close shave for a 1-cycle. So in that particular situation, I could see the traces mattering. And even with the traces, when I got that 2-cycle with that particular team, I was running Clara with 888. And that's where we're like, okay, level up talent, level up ult. That's all you need. And then we went from there. And I'm like, okay, cool. What can we do to make that better? But then we kind of canned it because like, man, no way they're going to let us get Sparkle, Ting Yun, and, the sustain of choice. Bushwin was just there so that we could have the extra crit rate, but it's fine, right? After that, we get into my favorite part of like psychoanalyzing what we could have done better as a unit, or the unit being team, right? As a team, what could we have done better? We can't do anything about the draft after the draft, right? We can't do anything pre-draft with, oh man, we should have grabbed this character. We can only kind of like theorize what we want to do. But post-draft, there was actually some testing that we did, and I'm like, okay, we could have gotten away with this. I sent it to Poke, but obviously he was upset during this time, so I don't really think we talked about this at all, but I did get to test this. I tested it with multiple other people from the event itself, like the tournament. I want to say it was like 4 other
What
people.
the fuck is written there on the screen? I just provided the run. Please leave me out of this. Thank you. Who said that?
From the tournament, I was actually able to test this out with. So basically what it is, had Poke and I just swapped between Topaz and Silver, if he would have taken Silver and I would have taken Topaz, that would have guaranteed us a 2+2, which would have been 4 cycle. Now, depending on what Pokke has on his account, because I don't specifically know everything that Pokke has for his account, but had he taken silver, and if he had E2 silver, he'd actually be able to play a full-on crit build with silver, which would give her 80 to 120k ults, and it would give her somewhere around like 40 to 50k skills. Plus, it's a skill point positive team because of March. So what would have happened was Pokke actually could have gotten a 1 cycle with that silver team. So if he would have swapped out the Topaz for the silver. And the reason I say this is because with silver on that side, it helps significantly more because Aventurine is already resistant. I believe 40% resistant to imaginary. And Topaz brings nothing to the table because March isn't doing enough follow-up attacks to really benefit from the damage at the speed of which she's getting them. And so with silver in that position, what happens with silver is you remove the 40% imaginary resistance and you add the imaginary weakness, meaning that you're going to be able to break faster, you're going to be able to do more damage. Silver's quantum on top of that, plus having her paired up with March means you're doing double the toughness coming from that. And he had Robin, which means you can accelerate them all forward. It would have been a really good team for him to pilot. On my side of things, I would have had Topaz. Now, Topaz is able to help out Clara because of the follow-up attacks, obviously, and her counters are follow-up attacks, meaning that the 50% extra damage, because I have E1 Topaz with S1, so E1, S1, the 50% extra damage, actually it's almost like 100%. I want to say it's like 75% extra crit damage, and then 50% extra regular damage or something like that, or follow-up damage. Point being,
I think it's just going to talk about
things that made it super hard for this draft, at least coming from me, is because I don't have a lot of E2s and E1s, at least not on purpose. Whereas a lot overall, I'm done. That's pretty much the end of the video, guys. Hopefully, I can't even say hopefully you enjoyed it. You know what I mean?
I get you. I really do.
Round it off. Again, I wasn't aware he was that angry about that. Him and I just didn't speak about him being that upset. I learned that from the videos or from other people like telling me or yapping about it, and then me seeing a repeat of what happened back in July with the Wuthering shit. Now we're back here again. You know what I mean? So I never really get that information directly. I always find out indirectly. That is the reason that I am usually lighthearted about a lot of stuff. Y'all don't see me crash out until it's the point, you know what I mean? But it's whatever.
It's sweeter,
I don't
but yeah,
have any bad blood with anyone. And from my end, I don't know what the fuck anyone else has, but I have no bad blood with anybody. I don't create bad blood with anybody on purpose. If there is, by all means, come talk to me about it. It's cool. I know I'm like black and I get angry, but it's fine, bro. I don't have to always be the angry black guy. You know what I mean? It's cool. Anyway,
I know. What?
I think I'm gonna cut that part out. Y'all have a good day.
Come on, Iyo.
Chilling. We're back on schedule. Videos are gonna come out the same way that they would normally come out. I'm just not gonna be involved in whatever this is gonna be considered from this point forward. If things happen, I want no parts. It is what it is. Smell you later.
There will be no more drama videos or responses from me moving forward. I didn't create the channel for that. I got into the space to make cool content with folks. Thank you for rocking with me. So, again, I myself love the video. I was thinking, I'm gonna be honest here, I was thinking that Iyo would not have learned anything from the previous times that he was in a controversy, that it was into a drama, right? Be it the Wuwa talk, the Neo Genshin, be it the ZZZ's a fighting game, Kara cancel, whatever that is, or this now. So I am happy, even though my chat doesn't really agree with me, I am happy that he is trying. You can call it PR, you can call it calculated, I don't care. He is trying. And if you're talking career-wise, because in my opinion, that's what's probably most important to him, is keeping his career and making sure it's still growing. Career-wise, this was the right decision, right? You record a video, you talk it openly about it, you're not condescending, right? You're not being aggressive, you're being chill, you're being humble. You talk about what you feel sorry for, what you think you could have done better. You explain everything to the community, and that's it. No more altercations, no more drama, no nothing. That being said, I feel like this should be the new standard for him. And in this end of the video, he clearly states that he's not going to do responses like that anymore. And I agree that in an ideal scenario, you should try to never get into those types of dramas and controversies to begin with. And this way, He'll never need to do these videos anymore. That being said, if that happens again, this is the best course to go for, right? This is the best way to fix the situation, right? If you, just like he did now, if he did 20 minutes videos whenever the Wu thing happened or the ZZZ thing happened, even though they were much smaller in many of different perspectives and circumstances, right? They didn't affect other people. They weren't about money, right? They didn't make someone lose money, etc., 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 etc. Who cares? At the end of the day, this is the right course to go to dealing with drama and controversy. You record a video, you talk about why you're sorry, what you think you could have done better, what's your fault, what isn't, explain everything to the community, wrap it up. That's it. Never talk about this anymore. Let's move forward. Or if you talk about this just in a joking manner, just making fun of a past situation, just like most people do, right? Lovely to see. Hopefully he learned from this. Hopefully he will try to be less like look for less trouble on Twitter. Because again, if he is trying to be a guide maker and a theory crafter, he has to value the way that people see him as, right? People have to see him as a smart guy, as a person that understands how the game works, how everything works, how the chain effects happen, how the butterfly effect goes. Y'all get what I mean, right? So like he must really try to keep this relationship with the audience, right? He really should try to look like the smart guy, the guy that knows what he's talking about and everything, right? If he keeps on doing things like that on Twitter, arguing with fucking randoms and trying to fight them till death to prove that he's right 100% of the times, that will eventually hurt his morale, hurt his relationship with the community. I'm forgetting the word that I'm looking for here. I'm sorry, but I've used it plenty of times already. He is hurting the way that the community sees him, right? And that will hurt how his guides and theory crafting performs, right? Because people are now doubting his knowledge about the game and his knowledge about gaming in general, right? Now, again, if he is trying to migrate to a more personality based stream, which in my humble opinion, I think he should, even though I'm a super small, microscopic creator, I really feel like Iyo has the charisma, has his intelligence, and everything to be a personality based creator. I feel like if he's trying to do that, then the route that he's going for is good and it's going to help him grow. But if he is trying to keep up with theory crafting and guide making as his main focus, he really should try to be a little bit more calm, a little bit more well behaved, and a little bit more humble towards both the creators, the community, the games, and everything, right? Because in this way, drama won't help you grow inside the guide making and theory crafting space, right? Now, if you're trying to grow as a creator as a whole, and you're trying to grow as a personality, bro, go into that shit, debate it, argue it. But again, never try to look like you're a person that can never admit a wrongdoing, right? If you feel like you were wrong, if some place throughout the journey you notice that you were wrong, say that you're sorry, say it publicly, because publicly matters. Because if the public doesn't understand that you're sorry, they will keep judging you forever, right? And that's pretty much it. Well, I think I've already yapped too much. Again, happy to see that Iyo is evolving. Happy to see that he's trying harder, right? Happy to see that it's solved. Iyo is a great guy. Loved his content. He watched my video once and left a comment, and I was a super small guy. I didn't even have like 2 months of content before, and he reacted to my video, left a comment and everything. So I feel like he's a guy that is working there, is on the trenches, is trying to evolve, is on the grind. And I feel like the guy, and he's funny, he's charismatic. I feel like he deserves the space. I feel like he deserves to grow. And I hope that he learns better ways to do that, right? So that was pretty much it for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did, don't forget to leave it a like, subscribe to my channel, follow me on my Twitch, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Bye-bye.